All right, welcome to the podcast marketing training for Glazer Kennedy Insider Circle folks. If you are here, it is most likely because you saw that I was in the Dan Kennedy newsletter, the GKIC newsletter. I was the $1,000,000 swipe file of the month, which is an awesome honor. Absolutely amazing. I was able to, I interviewed Dan Kennedy for my podcast, Direct Response Marketing, last month, and that was obviously one of our most popular episodes. So that was an amazing opportunity to spend half an hour picking the brain of the millionaire maker himself. And now I got the opportunity to be featured in the GKIC newsletter as a $1,000,000 swipe file of the month. I have been nominated back to back to back for Marketer of the Year, which, man, this is all a dream come true. So I am happy when they asked me to be the swipe file of the month and to conduct these trainings. I was honored to happily help you, teach you what we're doing, how it's working. This is not a sales pitch. This is going to be all content all the time. Get ready to take pages and pages of notes. I'm gonna fire hose you. I will warn you right now with awesome content. You are about to discover how to get impossible to reach decision makers to seek you out. That's right. They're going to chase you. Those high-level prospects and clients that you can't get to, that even your 3-step lumpy direct mail isn't working. This will get them to chase you. This will get your next book written without you having to write it. That's right. You will have a book done without having to write a word of it. And I'll show you how to get customers from iTunes for as little as $15 a month. So buckle your seatbelts, get ready. Let's get started. Are you ready? Awesome. So I got a question for you first. Have you ever wondered? So if you if you watched the source code video trainings, you saw Dan Kennedy and Dave D talking for a lot of those trainings. And at one point, Dan Kennedy referenced something. He referenced the Internet Marketing Freak Show. That's what he called it. And he was talking about the fact that if you're on any of the internet marketing guys' lists, like let's say you're on Frank Kern's list, and I'm on Frank's list, I'm on Ryan Dice's list, I'm on Jeff Walker's list, I'm on Rich Sheffrin's list, I'm on Mike Filsame's list, because I've bought products from all of those guys. I've had the honor of speaking on stage with a lot of them, and some of them are my friends, and it's really, really cool. So anyway, if you're on their list, you know that, let's say in August, you get an email from Jeff Walker saying, I'm launching product launch formula 7.0. Go here and watch my videos and sign up now and then buy it. And you also get an email from Frank and Russ and Mike and Ryan and Andy. And they're all saying, don't buy from this guy, buy from my page because I'll give you the best bonus, right? And I used to sit there and I used to go, man, how do I get in that club? I want in. I want somebody promoting my stuff like that. And I didn't figure out how to get in. I figured out something better, because a lot of us aren't selling internet marketing, whiz bang, work at home, make $4,000 a year in your underwear products. A lot of us in GKIC are real business owners with, I know Dan would cringe, but real employees, real customers, all that good stuff. So Dan talked about the Internet Marketing Freak Show, and that got me, that resonates with what I'm sharing you today, because what if you could have your own quote unquote Internet Marketing Freak Show, but for your business? So what if you're a local lawyer? I know, in GKIC, we're not thrilled with lawyers, but there are a number of them in GKIC. I'm going to use this as an example. But what if you're a local lawyer and you could get an army of financial advisors, CPAs, insurance people, and nursing homes all out there promoting your practice? That would be pretty awesome, right? That would have a huge impact on your business if you had all those people actively sending you business. It'd be like your own little internet marketing freak show, your own little internet Illuminati in your local area, and it could be national, doesn't matter. But you're about to discover how to do that. You're about to discover how to get your ideal referral sources, the people who see your customers, no matter who they are, before you do, while you do, all promoting you. And the best part is, this isn't an affiliate marketing scam or program or anything. You don't have to pay them 50% commission. You don't have to go negative on the front end. You don't have to do any of that. They will happily promote you without you even asking and without you paying them anything. So stay with me to the end, and I promise I will show you how to do this and how it could work in your business. And we'll let some folks on the call, we'll have some Q&A, and we'll let some folks even do hot seats where they tell me about their business, and I show you exactly how this would work. All right, so let's get started. So if you read the $1 Million Swipe File, you learned about my podcasting. So why podcasting? Why are we talking about this? Well, let me back up. I don't want to assume that everybody here knows what a podcast is, right? So a podcast is like a radio show. Everybody knows what a radio show is. So it's like a radio show, but on your phone or your iPod, your iPad, your iPhone, your smartphone, your tablet, wherever. So why would you want a radio show on somebody's phone? Well, because their phone is with them all of the time. Most people, a large majority of people even sleep next to their phones, which a lot of chiropractors will tell you is really bad for you because you get the electromagnetic frequencies. If you're going to sleep next to your phone, put it in airplane mode or turn it off. But anyway, people's phones are ubiquitous devices. They're with them all the time. Why wouldn't you want to show up on their phone? I'll give you some better statistics. Over 1 billion people are subscribed to podcasts on iTunes right now. That means over 1 billion people subscribe to a podcast, which means every time the podcaster puts out a new episode, ding, 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 the phone tells you, hey, there's a new episode from Seth Green of Direct Response Marketing. You should go listen to it. That's pretty powerful stuff. And if you were at the Info Summit last year, I think it was Info Summit, you heard Brendan Burchard talk about how only 25% of the world's population is online that has a smartphone or a laptop or a desktop. But in the next 5 years, by 2020, it's going to triple. 75% of the world will be online, and they will be online through a smartphone. So all those people in other countries will be online, not with a desktop, not with a laptop, but solely through their phone. So if you don't show up on iTunes and you don't show up on Amazon, which are the two most used apps, the podcast app, the iTunes store, the Amazon app are the most used apps on your phone other than social media. So that's why you want a podcast. Now, if you wanted a radio show in your local market, I have coached thousands of entrepreneurs over the years, and I have, dozens who have done, financial advisors who have done radio shows and done it with great success. But it's expensive. Traditional radio, like to be on drive time radio for like an hour. I mean, I have guys who are paying $60,000 a year to have a radio show. But what if you could have it for almost nothing? And what if there isn't a radio show devoted to your target market? What if there isn't a radio station with that demographic? If you did it on a radio show, you got to build it. You got to attract all those people. Wouldn't you rather have Apple do that marketing for you? Let me show you how. So this is iTunes New and Noteworthy. You will see my podcast is number 3 as when I took that screenshot. So absolutely, you want to go subscribe to my podcast, Direct Response Marketing. If you search for it in the podcast app, you can find it. You will obviously listen to the interview I did with Dan Kennedy. Lots of the GKIC elite besides Dan are in there. I've interviewed Craig Simpson. I've interviewed Greg Presti. I've interviewed some amazing people like Russell Brunson. So you absolutely want to listen to it. Costs nothing, by the way. Now, here's the even cooler part. You ready for this? What I'm showing you right now is AirPlay. This is amazing. So if you were driving a car right now, the next generation car that you get when you trade your car in or sell it or it dies and you get a new car, this is what your screen is going to look like. You see it's pre-bundled with the podcast. That little purple app is going to come pre-bundled in your car, and you won't be able to delete it even if you want to, just like you can't delete it from your phone. Apple won't let you. So the Apple interface is going to come pre-bundled in the entire next generation of cars, which means you can listen to your podcast in your car, even if you don't have an iPhone, even if you don't have it with you. So you're going to have, even if you don't have a smartphone, which I think is everybody except my in-laws, because they won't give up their flip phones, you will have a smart car. So think about that. Your podcast will be wherever people go. You got to show up where they are, right? That's why the time is now. That's why you got to do this now. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. In case you don't know, who am I? Why should you listen to me? Let's see, that's me with Dan, obviously. I've been featured in real media, Wall Street Journal, CBS, CNN, NBC. Write for Medium. I write for CNN. I write for USA Today. I have written 5 best-selling books along the way, actually 6. That's an old fan of images. I've got to fix that. Real estate marketing magic, cutting edge marketing magic, financial advisor marketing magic, online marketing magic, the Facebook Ninja, and podcast marketing magic, which I gave you a free copy of. And it didn't always start out that way. I was not always America's ultimate marketing magician. I started out going to Syracuse University for undergrad, and I was going to be a Broadway star. I was majoring in acting. That's literally what was my life goal. I was going to be a Broadway star. I'm going to go sing and dance on Broadway or act on Broadway, whatever. And my senior year, 2 of my friends and I decided we were going to produce our own show. We weren't just going to do what the drama department let us do. We wanted to do our own show. So we decided to produce an interactive murder mystery musical by Charles Dickens, The Mystery of Edwin Drood, where at the end the audience votes on who the killer is, and there are 20 different songs, 20 different variations of the last song and scene of who the killer is. So we formed a student organization. We went to the student government of Syracuse and said, we need the money for the show. They said, okay, they gave us the money, and I started producing a show. The only problem was 6 weeks before opening night, they called and said, we need to talk. You have to come in and meet with us. Now, it is never, ever, ever a good sign when somebody says we need to talk. If your girlfriend says we need to talk, run the other way. If your wife says we need to talk, it's an even bigger issue. But it's pretty bad when it's the SGA. So we went in and they said, we made a mistake. Our bylaws state we cannot give a first-time organization, first-year student organization, this much money. We need half your budget back. They said, what do you mean half of it back? You can't have it back. We're 6 weeks from opening night. And they said, well, you have to give it back. We're repossessing it, for lack of a better term, out of your bank account for your organization. You can either close your show or we don't know what else to tell you. And if you've seen the 1980s movie Top Gun, you saw Tom Cruise and you saw that bald cigar chomping admiral guy who said to Tom Cruise, son, your ego's writing checks your body can't cash. That's what I did. That's what my ego did. I said, I'm not closing this show. No way. Hey guys, I said to my friends, I got all these pre-approved credit card applications sitting in my apartment. Why don't I just fill them out? Why don't I just fill them out? And we'll charge the show. And at the end of the show, we're going to sell tickets. We'll make money selling tickets. Whatever money we've got left, whatever debt we've got left, we're just going to, you guys will get cards. We'll do cash advances. And we'll just do, a triple type of, we'll split the debt 3 ways. That's the deal. My friend said, okay, sure. So I did it. Except I knew nothing about marketing. We didn't sell enough tickets. So graduation came. I said, guys, here's how much we got left. You guys got to go get credit cards and transfer these balances so that we all have a third. They then went to their parents and said, Mom, Dad, can we do this? And their parents said, no freaking way. No way. Which is what my parents would have said had I asked. And that's why I didn't ask, because I didn't want them to say no. So they stuck me with the bill. They're not my friends anymore. And for a year, I tried to make payments on that thing. I couldn't even keep up barely with the interest. So I was stuck going bankrupt. I think I was 22, 23 at the time. And at the time, sitting in that bankruptcy court, watching that trustee go, you did what with this money? Thought it was one of the worst days of my life. Then I met Dan Kennedy. And Dan said, you've only gone bankrupt once? That's pretty good. If you come to Titanium, you'll see guys who, are multi-millionaires who've gone bankrupt multiple times. And I felt better. So based on the fact that I had borrowed a bunch of money to gamble on something I knew nothing about, I decided a good career choice, maybe Broadway, not so much. I was going to become a financial advisor. So if you've seen the movie Boiler Room, that was sort of my life. Except it was legal. I worked for a Fortune 500 financial services company. I made 300 cold calls a day, interrupting strangers, asking them for money, 5 days a week, for years because that's what I was taught by my manager, and that's what I thought you were supposed to do. But in my spare time, as a professional magician, and I'm reading a magic trade journal, yes, a trade journal for magicians, I see a full-page ad for a marketing course for magicians that's going to allow me to charge higher prices, book more gigs, get more respect, and make more money. And I said, sign me up. Except, remember, I'm still cold calling at the time. I don't have the money for the course. So I asked my mom and dad to buy the course for me for my birthday present. I used OPM, other people's money, right? So they said yes. They bought me the course. The course was written by a guy who you know named Dave D. I bought the course. I implemented the course. I doubled my prices. I became the highest priced magician in Western New York, where I live. And because of my new marketing, I became the busiest, highest priced magician. It totally worked. And I went to Dave and I said, holy dude, this stuff works. Where'd you learn it? He said, the 2 words that changed my life, probably changed yours too. He said, Dan Kennedy. I said, I got to talk to Dan. I went to Dan. I said, Dan, how do I do this in my real job? As a financial planner, as a stockbroker, as a cold calling cowboy? He said, first of all, you're doing everything your industry taught you, which is totally wrong. You shouldn't be cold calling. You shouldn't be mass marketing. You shouldn't be chasing people, begging for business. That's all wrong. Write me this really big check and I'll change your life. Now, his pitch was obvious. You know, Dan, his pitch was a whole lot better than that. And so I go home to my wife and I said, honey, 12 months ago, we got married. 3 months after we got married, we bought our first house. 9 months after we bought our house, we had our first baby, my son, Max. And 3 months after that, you quit your job to become a stay-at-home mom. And that was all in the same year. Got married, bought a house, had a baby, quit her job, leaving me the sole breadwinner while cold calling. I said, honey, I got to go borrow all this money to go hire this guy, Dan. And she said, no. So I came home the next day and I said, honey, you don't understand. I got to go hire this guy, Dan. And she said, no, I think you told me that last time you borrowed money, it didn't work out so well. So maybe you shouldn't do it. This went back and forth for 30 days. Day 31, she said, you better pray this works. So I went and I worked with Dan. And I was 6,699th ranked financial advisor out of 6,700, which means I was one up from the bottom. I spent my first 2 years of Dan. My commission, my production, my revenue went up 435%. I went from second to last place to top 30 in the country. I said, Dan, this stuff works. He said, I know. I said, what do I do now? He said, you start a marketing company and you help other people do what you just did. I said, okay, start a marketing company. So I did. Started out with me, one employee, that would be me, myself and I, and one client. And that was about 8 years ago. And we now have an office building. I know Dan would cringes every time I talk about it. And anytime Sean Buck and I talk about this, an office building full of real employees. And we serve thousands of clients around the world, everyone from the solopreneur, bricks and mortar retail, author, speaker, coach, consultant, info marketer, to Fortune 500 companies. So it's been an absolutely incredible journey. And that's why you're listening to me today. Dan has also told me I could write a book about all the things. Dan has told me one of the things he told me was write a book. Help make you a celebrity, help prove your expertise, help differentiate you. I've written 6. These are 5 of them, which we talked about earlier. So let's talk about podcasting. That's what you're here for, now that you know who I am. Let's talk about how podcasting equals freedom. Freedom, baby. It's what we all want, right? The challenges so many of you are facing when it comes to podcasting. Number one is the technology. 50% of people I talk to say that they want to start, they're interested in podcasting, but they're afraid of the technology. I wrote an article for CNN a couple weeks ago on wrestler turned podcaster, Stone Cold Steve Austin, who said he wanted to start a podcast for 3 years, but he was afraid of the technology. Technology is number one. That's what people are afraid of. I'm going to show you how it doesn't matter and you don't need any technology now. Next, people are afraid of, how do I get guests? What do I do? Who do I have on the show? Third, people are concerned about having the time. And fourth, they're concerned about, how am I going to use this thing to actually make money? I'm going to show you the answers to all of those. So if you're not writing things down yet, I suggest you start right now. You want to write this down. If you take away one thing from me today, and I hope you get a lot more, but if you only get one, iTunes is not a social network. iTunes is a media platform. iTunes is a media platform. And what that means is once you have a podcast, you in essence have a radio show. You now own a media platform. That makes you a reporter. That gives you the ability to grant anyone else what they want, which is exposure. Think about it. If your phone rings today and you get a cold call, and it's somebody who wants to sell you something, you probably hang up. I hung up on a copier salesman earlier today. But what if on the other end of that phone was someone saying, what if they sent you an email? What if they called you and said, I've got a media appearance for you. Are you interested? Heck yeah, I'm interested. Well, tell me about the media appearance. Well, so-and-so would like to interview you on their show. Are you open to that? So-and-so would like to write about you in a book. Are you open to that? Yeah, hold my rest of my calls. I want to talk to this person. Or, hey, I'm a reporter now. I want a press pass to a concert so I can go backstage. You could probably, I haven't tried that. I've had members who have done it, coaching clients who have done it and gotten backstage to meet, rock stars and stuff like that. I'm not suggesting that you should do that, but hey, you could probably get a press pass to get into any local event, I am sure. Okay, so let's say you don't know how to podcast, right? Guess what? You don't need to know. All you need to know how to do is dial a phone and press a button that says record. That's your podcast. You're going to record a phone call or a Skype call or a GoToMeeting or a GoToWebinar, whatever you want to use. It just records an interview of you interviewing somebody else. Now, you're going to do this as an audio podcast. 90% of podcasts are audio. There are video podcasts, but think about why most are audio. And it's because when people listen to podcasts, they're usually multitasking. They're usually on the treadmill, they're working out, they're driving, or they're working at work, or they're going for a walk. It's really hard to drive and watch a video at the same time and kind of dangerous. But we've been listening to radio in our cars for like 50 years. So that's not an issue. So you want to do audio only for now. And two, you want to do an interview format. Now, there are podcasts that are non-interview formats. For example, Garrett White of Wake Up Warrior, Warrior on Fire, one of my favorite non-interview podcasts to listen to. Garrett's Daily Fuel, he basically rants for 5 to 12 minutes. And I listen to it religiously. It's awesome. But think about it. The only one who's going to promote Garrett's podcast most likely is Garrett because he's the one doing the ranting. But when I interviewed Russell Brunson on my podcast, Russell emailed out, Facebooked out, LinkedIn status update, and tweeted that he was on my show. To his whole audience, now said, hey, I'm on Seth Green's show. Go listen to it. Here's a link. Now I'm exposed to his whole list. They're all exposed to me. I get new subscribers to my podcast. I get new opt-ins on my website, new leads into my funnel. So I'm going to tell you to interview other people. This is Gary Okino. You should check out his podcast, The Outdoor Boardroom. He is a golf coach. He was a bricks and mortar golf coach who would give physical lessons in exchange for physical dollars, time for dollars, right? What you're not supposed to do. And we said, Gary, he comes to my monthly mastermind group, and I said, let's fix this business model. So what do? We created the last golf lesson ever program, the bucket list golf lesson program. Dan says you should have a level of your service that's priced so high nobody would buy it because it'll make everything else seem reasonable. So that was the program for Gary. It was $100,000 a year. And Gary said, no one's ever going to buy this. I said, you know what? I like it so much, I'm actually going to market this for you. And the program is for CEOs of Fortune 500 or very large companies who golf. And it's the bucket list golf program. So for example, let's say that you're the CEO of Cisco, and your dream is to play St. Andrews, and you want to play with Bradley Cooper from American Sniper because you were a Marine or you were a Navy SEAL, right? So Gary will fly out in a private jet, pick up the CEO of Cisco, pick up Bradley Cooper, fly him to St. Andrews, play together with him for a couple days, fix your golf game in a couple days, give you, on-course lessons the whole time, the whole yards, and then fly you back. That's why it's $100,000 because he's got a book, a private jet, he's got to book St. Andrews, and he's got to pay Bradley Cooper's appearance fee. But if you're a Fortune 500 CEO and you're making $10 million a year, you're drooling over that. You're like, oh my God, I'll spend $100,000 to do that. It's the lifetime memory. I've got Facebook posts, pictures, I've got videos, and they're going to do it again and again because they're going to want to go play other courses with other celebrities or athletes. And Gary's like, how the hell are we going to sell that? How are we going to get to those CEOs? I said, those CEOs all have media departments that are trying to get more exposure for that CEO in that company. If I go to the PR exec that handles that CEO and say media appearance for John Chambers, they say yes. They don't ask Gary, how many listeners do you have? They just say yes. And then you'll see, if you go to the Outdoor Boardroom, he's interviewed some awesome people. And the amazing thing is, you also see on his social media, he's got pictures of him playing golf courses in Bermuda, in Barbados, all over the world because of this. So you don't have to know how to podcast. You just have to know how to dial a phone. What if you don't have time? Guess how much time it takes? It only takes about 30 minutes a week to do a podcast. The interviews that we're telling you, the interviews that we do, that we suggest you do, are 15 to 30 minutes. That's it. And you know, we even have a program, whereas if you don't have time to do the interviews, we'll do them for you. It won't be in your voice. It'll be in one of our voices, but we'll do the interview for you if you really want us to. Now, why am I doing all this? Obviously, I told you I'm giving back to the GKIC community that has given me so much. This is my wife, Rebecca, who gets to stay home thanks to GKIC. Those are my 3 awesome kids. Max is my 8-year-old to the right. Ella is my 6-year-old princess to the left. And Lily's my about-to-be 3-year-old in the middle. But I also have an even bigger reason. I believe, just like Atlas Shrugged, that it's entrepreneurs who are going to save the world. So I give money, loan money to third world entrepreneurs to help them start or expand their businesses and get out of poverty, because that's the only way we're going to pull this world to where it deserves to be. So a large percent, I have funded hundreds and hundreds of third world entrepreneurs, and I look forward to doing even more of that. So let's talk about why my podcasting system, which there's nothing to sell you here today, by the way. Just so you know, so you don't need to drop off. It's all content all the way to the end. But what I call our system, podcast marketing magic, because it truly is magic. It's different from any other ways people are using podcasting, and I'll show you why. So again, the most commonly held myths about podcasting: don't know how, don't have time, don't know how to get the right guests. I didn't know how to get the right guests when I started. But look at who's on some of the people on my list: Roland Frazier, Sally Hogshead, John Benson, inventor of the video sales letter, Boss Rutan, ultimate fighting champion, Ajit Nawatka of Mind Valley, Garrett White of Wake Up Warrior. I've gotten some amazing people on my show just because I have a show. So I'm going to give you, again, you want to write these down. I'm going to give you these steps to successful podcasting, and then we're going to walk right through them. I'm literally giving you the story here. Number 1, your podcast needs a concept and a name, and I'm going to show you how to figure that out. Number 2, you need interview questions that are designed not only to let your guests show off and look good, but that generate business for you. See, when I wrote Podcast Marketing Magic, I followed the same process. I interviewed 20 of the top podcasters in the world, people with followings, some of them in the millions. And I figured out, it was like the Napoleon Hill model. I figured out what they were all doing. And I realized that 90% of them were trying to monetize their podcast the exact same way. They were trying to get enough listeners to sell advertisements and sponsorships and make affiliate money. And I realized for the local business owner, that's not a good business model, because you really want to become in the business where you have to sell ads. You want to have ad reps. You want to be an ad rep, knock on doors and say, advertise on my podcast, just like the Yellow Pages guy. I said, and is the average local, let's say, chiropractor going to ever have enough listeners to make that attractive? Probably not. I said, I want to figure out a way to be able to monetize a podcast from the very first episode, even if I've got 10 listeners and 9 of them work for me. So I'm going to show you how to do that. And a lot of that is about who your guests are and what your interview questions are and what happens after the show. So concept and name, interview questions, book your first guest. Let's talk about the concept and the name. First of all, iTunes and Google have done a lot of your research for you. Just search iTunes for the most successful podcast in your niche and name yours something similar, but don't copyright infringe, please. Swipe and display, just swipe and deploy, not steal. And you can do both. Go into Google Keyword Planner and find out what the #1 keyword you want to rank for is. So let's do some actual research right on the spot. So we have a client in the personal branding niche. So I go up to iTunes and I go to podcasts, then I search for personal branding. And the #1 podcast for personal branding is Life is a Marathon. Interesting. Why is it #1? Let me show you so you can learn how to do the same thing. So you'll see something really interesting. Here is, as best we can tell, the search engine optimization algorithm on iTunes, how you rank on iTunes. Here are the factors that go into that. 1, your cover art. 2, how many reviews you have and how many stars you've got. 3, the name of your show. 4, your author title. And 5, your description. That's it. It's like, there's a couple bit, those are the 5 major points. So if we look at it, he's got nice clean cover art. It's Life is a Marathon, but look, he's got life coaching, self-esteem, personal development, personal branding, positive thinking. Why would his title be that long? Because those are keywords he wants to rank for. And then look, his author name isn't just Bruce Van Horn. He put in there life coach, motivational speaker, thought leader, author, blogger, and runner, because he wants to come up for those as well. And then you'll notice in his description, he's got all those keywords in there again. And he's got 92 reviews, which is very, very helpful. You don't necessarily need that many depending on your niche. I've been #3 on New and Noteworthy for marketing, and I think I've got about 25 reviews. So it just depends. He's going after a bigger niche than I am. Here are some of his reviews. Again, graded. I mean, it's 1 sentence. This one's 1 sentence. They're not writing 6 paragraphs. So it's a lot easier to get people to review you when they don't have to write 3 pages. Or you could go into the Google keyword tool or whatever search thing you're doing. And if I type in personal branding into Google, there's like 2 million searches a month. So I need to go down here and see which groups might have keywords in it that are more relevant to me and have less competition. So for example, I might do building your personal brand as 1,350 searches a month and low competition. Now my client in the personal branding space, 10% of that market, 135, if she got 135 clicks a month, she'd be ecstatic. So it just depends on your business model. But that's why her podcast is called Own Your Person. That's why her book is called Own Your Personal Brand, because it's piggybacking on the building your personal brand search. Now, your introduction for your show should be professionally done. It should sound like an intro to a radio show. So you might want to actually listen to either a radio show or a number of podcasts on iTunes, including, mine and some of the folks of those I've interviewed, and find out, what does a professional intro sound like? Your professional intro should do 3 things. Again, you want to write these down. It should be a lead generation ad for your podcast because you want to make sure people listen to it. It should be lead generation for the next step you want them to take, which I hope is like drive them to your website. And then 3, it should position you as an expert in your niche. So this is the actual script of my intro, which says, welcome. You know what? I think I've got it here on iTunes. Where did iTunes go? Let's play it and see if you can hear it.
Welcome to the Direct Response Marketing Magic Podcast. Seth Green is a 5-time best-selling author, speaker, and nationally recognized direct response marketing expert who is CEO of...
Okay, I'm not sure if you heard that, but you'll see if you go listen to it, you'll hear it's got music, it's got a professional announcer. It sounds like the lead-in to a radio show. And you will see it says I'm a 5-time best-selling author, speaker, and direct response marketing expert. So I've established my credibility. Free access to my magical marketing video series at this website. So I've got lead gen, call to action. And then I talk about on the podcast, here's what you can expect. So I did all 3 things, and you want to do the same. Now, I'm going to take a step back and talk about your interview questions, which is part of, there's 2 pieces of the secret sauce. There's the secret sauce of the right guests, and there's secret sauce of the interview questions. So your interview questions should let your guest talk about who they are, what they do, and let them show off. So questions that do that might be, tell me how you got started. Let's say you were interviewing, I have a client who is doing the Chiropractic Success Secrets podcast, and he's interviewing other successful chiropractors, so some of his questions are, tell me what inspired you to become a chiropractor. How did you get to this particular chiropractic office? And what do you like best about being a chiropractor? Tell me some of the things that have worked the best for you in attracting new patients. Tell me about an amazing story of a patient you were able to help. So the chiropractor showing off, feeling good, talking about how fabulous they are. Now, the questions that might get you business, because I want to do business with all my podcast guests. That's part of how I pick them. Or I want them out there promoting my business. So some of those questions might be like, what's your biggest challenge today? Or tell me about one of the biggest mistakes you made and how you learned from it. Because I want to elicit some pain points from them in the context of the interview so that later, not on air, but after the interview, like Gary Okino, our golf coach, might say, what's your biggest weakness in your golf game? And the CEO says, my slice. And then after the call, Gary says, hey, I noticed you mentioned your slice was your weak point. It's okay. Would you mind? I've got a DVD that'll help you fix your slice. Do you mind if I send you a complimentary copy of it? And the CEO goes, no, that'd be great. Thank you so much. Boom. He's in. So that's some of the psychology behind some of the interview questions. Now, I told you didn't need any technology. You don't. You're going to get what's called the Call Recorder app. It's very, very tricky. It's free. You do have to pay for the minutes of airtime that you record. So you might spend $5 a month in minutes, in recording minutes. You're going to dial the phone number of the person you're interviewing and press the record button. That's your interview. And then you're going to get that professionally produced introduction done and splice the two together, and that's your show. So let me show you how that works. Here it is. This is a shot of me in iTunes, App Store. I typed in call recorder. Boom. That's the first one. That's the one you want. It looks just like that. It's free. Recorded phone calls for iPhone. Then you have to buy credits. That's the minutes of airtime. So you buy a couple hours, you spend $5. You got a bunch of interview time. Then I'm going to hit this red button. Guess what the red button means? It means record. I hit the red button. It dials the number. Then I hit add contact right here. I pick the person I'm interviewing. I hit dial the phone. The person gets on the phone. I say, you ready to do the interview? They say yes. I hit the merge call button, and it's now recording. That's it. And then at the end of the interview, I hang up, and the call recorder app pops back up and says, you now have a new recording available. And I email the MP3 file to myself, and poof, I plug in my introduction at the beginning, and I've got a show. That's it. That's all you got to do. Now you need that podcast intro produced. You can either have professionals do it, or you can go to Fiverr.com and pay somebody $5 to do it. Now you can, depending on what voice you're looking for, you're going to have to search. So maybe you want a woman introducing you. Maybe you want a man. Maybe you want someone with a British accent. Maybe you want someone with a Georgia accent. I don't know what you're fixing to do. So pick them, give them the script. You got to write the script. And then poof, they'll pick some music, they'll produce it, and boom, you have an intro. Hopefully you're with me so far. Oh, wait, we got questions. Oh, I apologize. You can interrupt me, by the way, and ask questions in the little chat box over here. Okay, so how do I get, you said I put the intro and my interview together. How? Oh, perfect segue. Thank you. You go to Audacity, which is a free audio editor, and it's literally like cutting and pasting two Word docs together. If you can do that, you can do this. You just drop in the intro file, MP3, you put your interview file next to it, and you hit download, merge or whatever the heck the button is, and it creates it, and you have a finished MP3 file. Now, if you're interview needs more editing, like if there's sections in the middle and stuff you want to take out, you can either do that yourself in Audacity, or you can have a professional person clean it up for you. Totally up to you. Good question. Now that you've got an episode, what are you going to do with it? You're going to sign up for a service called Lisbyn, LISBYN.com. You're going to sign up for an account, and because you need to host your podcast somewhere to get it to iTunes. You're going to host. Lisbyn has, I'm not an affiliate, I don't make any money sending you there, but they have some of the more robust analytics and monetization tools on that for podcasts out there. I've used other services. I like Lisbyn the best. Then you're going to submit it to iTunes. In a couple days, you get an email from iTunes saying your podcast has been approved. Here's the link. Poof, you are now on iTunes. And then you're going to do that every week when you air your new episode. You don't have to tell iTunes every time. Once you tell them once, it automatically uploads. Every time you upload an episode, it goes to iTunes. So that's literally it. Then the secret sauce, part of the secret sauce, is you're going to transcribe every episode you do into a Word doc, edit that Word doc so it reads well, and that's your next book. Not each episode, but once you have enough episodes, you have a book featuring all of your guests, which is why you want to strategically pick your guests. Because if you do it right, your guest will promote that they were on your show. And then when the book comes out, they'll promote that they're in your book, and they may buy 200 copies of your book at cost. We're not trying to make any money selling books. And they will hand those books out to their clients and prospects, driving them all back to you, thus building you your own little unpaid affiliate army. To see how that works, do you get how cool this is? It's working really, really well. So will you be our next success story? I hope I'm inspiring. Again, there's no pitch coming. I hope you are inspired, and I'm not done yet. I hope you are inspired to want to start a podcast and turn it into a book. Let's talk about some of the ways this works. Oh, all right. So I got questions. Perfect. All right. You want to play? I will happily do a hot seat with you. She is asking, I'm an attorney. How would this work for me? Awesome. We've done this for a number of attorneys. So you are an estate planning attorney. So your ideal referral sources, because I've done this before, would be financial advisors, CPAs, gerontologists, grief experts, nursing homes, all places like that who see your ideal client. So if you interviewed them all in a book and made the book about estate planning, then A, they're going to promote that they were on your show. And then B, when the book comes out, they're going to want to hand out copies of the book to all their clients and prospects to make themselves look good because they're in your book. And you're the one who wrote the book. You're on the cover. And there's chapters in the book about you. So where the introduction, the conclusion, and another chapter all about you. So when that person has legal questions, where are they going to come to? They're going to come to you. And now all of a sudden you've got an army of 15 CPAs, financial advisors, and nursing homes sending you business. And now you're a little celebrity in your local market. Awesome question. Great case study. Great hot seat. Oh, another question. How many interviews does it take to make a book? That depends on how long the interviews go. So I've had interviews where, like, my first question is always, how did you get started? And I had one person I interviewed, and the answer was like 10 seconds. They said, well, I started at State Farm, and I've been here my whole life. Thanks. I can't do, that's one sentence. That's not going to take up much room in a book. But then the very next person I interviewed, I said, how'd you get started? And the guy's answer was half an hour. I literally could have put the phone down, walked away, walked across the street to the restaurant across from my office, got lunch, come back, and he was still talking. He wouldn't have noticed. And then I came back, I didn't really leave. But at the end of the interview, at the end of that answer, I said, okay, well, that wraps up our show. That was fascinating. Thanks so much. So it was half an hour answer to one question. So it all depends on how long the interviews go. So for example, I have my cutting edge marketing magic book was 15 interviews and is like 220 pages. I have another client who did like 10 interviews and the book was 150 pages. So it depends on how long the interviews go. There's no magic number, but I would say generally, and it also depends on how long you want the book to be, between 10 to 20 interviews is going to make you a book. Okay. I don't see any more questions yet. So if all podcasting and turning into a book did for you was get you in front of your dream referral sources and prospects, would it be worth it? Of course. If all it did was get your next book or your first book, I don't know if you've written one yet, if all it did was get your book done without you having to write it, would it be worth it to have a book? If all it did was get you new customers, clients, and patients, would it be worth it? Yeah, absolutely. Now, my goal was to give you enough that you literally know how to do this, that you could do it yourself if you wanted to. If you want, the more important question is, can you do this? Because you're going to think, oh, that's great. It works for you, Seth. It works for your clients, but it might not work for me. Well, let me ask you, can you dial a phone and push a record button? Yes, I would hope so. Or you're not on this call. You didn't get on here without being able to. Can you read? I would hope so. Can you edit a Word doc? Yes, then you can do this. There really is no tech hurdle the way we do it. So you can, again, do this all yourself. If you'd like to see if you qualify to have us do it all for you, just go to podcastmarketingmagic.com/apply. 1 second, and I will show you what that should look like. If you go to podcastmarketingmagic.com/apply, you can fill out an application. Here we go. There's a web browser. Hang on, it's coming. I'll show you what it looks like. You can apply to see if you qualify to have a strategy session with us to talk about us doing that work for you. I am stopping the screen share. Oh, no, I do want a screen share. I want to show you this. Where'd it go? Disappeared. There. Okay, so this is how you know you're in the right place. Podcastmarketingmagic.com/apply says click here to apply now. Here's everything you get if we do it for you. You can see some testimonials. You can watch a video. It lays out the details even more. And you can click to get the application. So that is this training session for today. We're going to open it up for more Q&A and more hot seats if you want to do them. I am happy to share again and give back to the wonderful GKIC community. I'm going to take a breath and allow questions. Okay, anybody? Any questions? Oh, okay, there we go. People are typing. All right. How often should we podcast? Okay, so I will tell you the way we do it. You want to air an episode once a week. Now you're going to, you may do more interviews than that in a week. You might do 3 interviews, but I would tell you to air one of them. Because if you start airing 4 or 5 a week, your listeners are going to get used to that and expect it. And if you ever drop off, you have issues. So like in our Done For You service, we guarantee 4 episodes a month. And again, you're not trying to become, again, the goal of this is to monetize right away. You don't need 500 episodes. You don't need 20,000 listeners. The goal of this is to strategically pick your guest that can ideally suited to promote your business, turn it into both a show and a book. They promote both the show and the book. That gets you the business. You may even end up doing business with each person that you interview. That's the monetization plan that no one else that I know of is doing. I'm in a whole bunch of podcasting groups and a member of a whole bunch of different podcasting sites. And they are, as far as I am aware of, I'm the only one who's doing it and teaching it this way. Any other questions? Okay. Awesome. I hope I added value. I hope this was good. I hope you liked the training. I hope you learned a lot. I hope you took lots of good notes. Again, the application is at podcastmarketingmagic.com/apply if you're interested. And I hope to either work with you on your podcast or I'll see you at the next GKIC event. Thanks everybody for attending.